somewhere European, and so she sounds something like, "My name is Celestia Ludenberg, but I would prefer you to call me Celeste." So you would have to hear the original to know how close it is.
She's got some sass to her, huh? Like, I like it. All right. Nice. I haven't had a chance to kind of like pull that out, but every once in a while I get the little Arnold Schwarzenegger, get the choppers. Hello. Let's get right into this. My guest today is a woman who has done more modern creator things than any guest I've spoken to, Siri. Hi, Siri.
Hi, I am the original Siri, not the AI.
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, you've done more modern creative things. I feel like you're a, modern Renaissance woman. So you've self-published some books. You've written various poems. You were co-host of a podcast. You've done amateur voiceover work. You've done kind of more professional voiceover work for tiny anime background roles, as you put it. You were a Twitch affiliate streamer for a while. You're an occasional closet cosplayer. You've done YouTube on your own YouTube channel. And you're also the board secretary and audio video editor for a wonderful group called Write Hive that we'll talk about a little bit. Wow. Thank you for joining me, taking the time away from all these different things to come and talk to me for a while.
Well, thank you for reaching out to me. I think you're giving me more credit than I deserve. These are all passion projects, but the phrase passion projects speaks for itself. They're all driven through passions that I have. So.
Right. No, I mean, hey, that's how anyone gets started, right? Like, Brandon Sanderson's kind of a big deal right now, but he wrote like 6 books before he ever got published, so they were all passion projects, But you've done so many different creative projects. Tell me, do you have like any favorites?
That's a hard one. They all have a special place in my heart, but I'd say if I had I'm just going to speak for today. Today is Wednesday, May 31st, and I'd say voiceover because I didn't have any formal training, and you could probably say that for a lot of voice actors, but I grew up wanting to be an entertainer, whether that was singing or doing impressions or anything like that. So voiceover gave me that platform to explore the capabilities of my voice, explore different sides of myself through these various characters. So it was a fun, short-lived thing. I'm open to doing more, but I don't do much now, but it was a lot of fun. So I did. So I was on YouTube one random day in college, and I just going down a black hole of doing all these different videos coming up on my related feed, and I found Sims videos that were filmed / choreographed to various music videos. I'm remembering Britney Spears at the top of my head, and then that led to another rabbit hole of, wow, there are creators who are doing music videos, but then they're also creating their own original work, dramas, comedies, just their own stories, and filming with the Sims games, like Sims 2 through whatever current iteration the franchise is in. And it started with subtitles where, obviously the emotions of the Sims with subtitles you can read, and then it transitioned into, I'm casting for voices, send me a reel, or here are the lines and give me your best take. And so I thought, hey, I'm young, I have energy, I have time, let's just go for it. And that's how I got started. And I'm gracious that the creator who had me in my very first role, when I just had these headphones, I didn't have any fancy equipment, and that got me some leverage with different other creators. And then decades later, literal decades, they reached out to me again for a new series they were doing, and that's my most recent stunt with them. So that was a very long answer.
That's rad. No, that's cool. That's such a cool answer. Okay, So one, yeah, that like I think it's called Machinima, right? Where they use like
Yes,
the video
Machinima,
game to kind of create the
yes.
right. And so my son is into that, but he's not watching it on Sims. He watches so many videos of people doing that same sort of thing with Minecraft. Like it is such a thing he's 10 years old, and like let me tell you, like whoo, there's so much content for him.
There is.
So that's fun, right? I heard you say that you did impressions. Did you just say that? I want to
Okay,
hear
I
an
said
impression.
I do impressions. I don't do them well. I'm trying to think. So, when I was a Twitch affiliate streamer, like you mentioned, I actually
Yeah.
got that status playing the Danganronpa series, the video game series from Spike Chunsoft, and that game.
I have never heard Danganronpa. So tell me, what is Danganronpa?
It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
So
Tell me.
So that franchise is a visual novel format, and so
Okay.
it's a mix of. It's almost like a dating sim, but the main focus is the premise being you are playing a character who is stuck in a remote location with 15 other students, and you all have amnesia, don't know how you got there, who each other are, and basically it turns into this almost battle royale where every chapter there's a murder, and then you have to investigate the crime scene, and then there's a trial where you have to use social deduction to figure out who done it. And basically all of that to say that because there's a cast of 15 characters, it gave me opportunity to hear the characters in their own voice actors, but then in the times where there's no voice acting, I can fill the silence with my voice. So I voice 15 characters in my streams. And so
Wow.
the first game has a character named Celestia Ludenberg, and she has I want to say somewhere European, and so she sounds something like, "My name is Celestia Ludenberg, but I would prefer you to call me Celeste." And so you would have to hear the
Nice,
original
nice.
to know how close it is.
She's got some
but-
sass to her, huh? Like I like it. All right. Good. Nice. I haven't had a chance to kind of like pull that out, but every once in a while I get the little Arnold Schwarzenegger, get the
Yes.
chopper, some of those, you know.
That's amazing.
I gotta work that in.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
thank you.
sharing.
I'll just-
I was not expecting that.
That's fun. So you do all these different things, like we kind of talked about. How do you decide what you're going to work on next?
I am not 100% sure. I have a formalized process on what to do next. I think a lot of the motivation to do all these passion projects are driven by interest. And I mean, like I said earlier, they're literally just passion projects. And I'm not discrediting any of the hard work that I've done or any people who do these things for a living, but I think I have the initial, I want to do this, I do it, and I'm either satisfied and or bored, and I'm ready to do something else. But I also want to talk about something a little bit more serious and deep, hustle culture, which I used to live in Los Angeles, and that's a city of opportunity. I was working in the music industry, and that's where I started picking up the hustle culture, being constantly busy, always doing something, and success means I'm always out networking, I'm doing the next big thing, and I was developing all these unhealthy habits of expectations of what I should be doing, how my life is going to be projected, and so I think that followed me into my younger adulthood, where I had to be doing streaming, I had to be cosplaying, I had to be doing YouTube, I had to be doing XYZ, and having my hand in a lot of different jars of skills. But right now I'm in the process of having an overall goal of staying creative, but also enjoying the things, the hobbies that make me happy and fill me with joy, versus having to just be the hustle, like gotta make it big, gotta do it, gotta do this, gotta do that, and just spreading myself way too thin.
I love that. I'm glad, important. It makes me think of there's, some other YouTubers out there that have kind of been dealing with that, right? And it's easy to get burned out. I mean, it's nice to kind of see the views and that sort of thing, but there's nothing stopping you from trying to make a video every day, except that that's not healthy, right? Like you have to kind of put a limit on it at some point, right? You have to be able to say, okay, I need to do some other things. Yeah, so it's tough though to, like, what do you do? Especially when, like, what you're doing, the creative thing, is something that you've always done for fun, but now you've kind of added this other layer to it, so it sort of takes some of the fun away. I imagine you had some of that experience, right?
Right, and that speaks directly to when I was a Twitch affiliate. So the story behind that is I have friends, and I have a best friend who they got their start on YouTube, and they were big. I mean, they are still relatively big, but back then when YouTube was still before what it is now, they would be streaming on YouTube, streaming on Twitch. So I was around that space, but it took a guy I was dating in LA. He pushed me to become a streamer because how often do you meet a girl who loves video games and is actually pretty decent? And so he said, you could totally make a killing and make a living off of this. And I thought, no, I really just enjoy playing video games with friends. It's not a big deal. But he built me a PC, and so I felt like I had to do it at that point. I will say I did have a lot of fun streaming because I think the gaming community is such a great community where we bond over the same types of games, we can nerd out together. And I did build a small community around my Twitch channel, which I really loved because we could hang out every day for a couple of hours while I'm playing a game. We can talk about life, and I had a Discord at one point. But then that extra layer of, oh wow, now that I've made affiliate, I want to make partner. How do I do the grind to get there? How much more time and mental health do I need to sacrifice to get to where I want to be? And at some point it felt more like a chore than having fun. And given the pandemic happening in 2020, you could see a skyrocket of how many people started streaming on Twitch when the platform was originally for gamers. Not that I don't think anybody should have restrictions to it, but I do think that it's become such a saturated market now, and it's harder to build those communities because everyone is looking for the next big thing, who's the more gimmicky, who's going to do the big crazy thing to get the views. And so it was time for me to step away and focus on other things, like you said. Yeah,
I hear you. I kind of dabbled recently with trying to play some games on stream, and I wanted to kind of, my angle was that I was going to look at like the game with a focus on the story of the game, and it was sort of fun, but at the same time it does sort of, you kind of, as you were talking about, like it takes a little bit away from the enjoyment of playing the game, because you're not just there for your own entertainment, you're there thinking about how do I be entertaining to somebody else, right? Yes. That's a different experience.
Sorry, I didn't mean to totally burst your bubble. I fully support everyone.
No.
I fully support everyone who wants to stream, and if that is your gig and you have the dedication and the commitment to do it, I totally think you should do it. There are just times where you have to recognize whether it's good or bad for you.
Right? Yeah. No, it was fun to do, and maybe I'd do some of it in the future. But like it's, again, like, I mean, having not done it before, it was like, well, great, I'm gonna go, do this thing, and maybe start building a little bit of an audience doing something that's fun anyway, But it's not. I mean, that, like, it's not the same enjoyment, because like you're thinking about what is the audience going to see, and like, am I getting the audience that I should get, and or I want to get, right? It does sort of take a little bit of the joy away. So what are you doing now to, kind of this is a little bit of an aside, but it relates with what we're talking about. What do you do these days to step away from all that and have something that's different and for you, you know?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I'm going to take this time to plug Write Hive. And you mentioned that before. Write Hive, that I'm board secretary and audio video editor for. We are a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to uplift marginalized voices in the writing and publishing industry. There's a paywall that we want to help break down, and that way that influences all of our resources, all of our events to be free. And we have an annual conference that's actually coming up. It's next Friday. I say that like cautiously because wow, it's so close. And it's a 3-day virtual weekend where we have pre-recorded panels, we have live presentations, we have workshops with agents, and then this year we're introducing author reads where you can sign up for a slot and have 30 minutes to read an excerpt and just network with your fellow writers. And then we have a writing retreat every fall, and I'm just barely scratching the surface, but wanted to give you an idea of what Write Hive is doing. And so that's what's been most of my dedication outside of my day job, because I think the community that we've built is so great, and just the fact that we're able to bring people together and make an impact on not just one, not just two, but many writers, and connecting everybody in the industry is just really rewarding. And I'm happy to dedicate my time as a volunteer to make all those things happen.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's actually how I got to learn about you at all, is through Write Hive, which has been a joy. I remember hearing the first time I heard it was actually on a different Discord server that was for writers, and someone was mentioning like the conference, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And the more I looked into it, the more I'm like, "Well, this is awesome! What a great organization!"
Thank you. We're so happy
we're recording
you're a part
on
of
the
this, too.
31st.
Sorry.
We're recording on the 31st of May. This will probably air a little bit later, so the conference will have already been out, but all the different panels are available to watch on YouTube, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I love the way it's structured too. Like, you know, this is all free online virtual conference, so all the different panels are coming out on YouTube and everyone can watch. But then in addition to, you know, just sort of watching in a vacuum on YouTube, there's a whole Discord server that's set up just for the conference, and you can kind of engage in the discussions about the panels and talk with all the different, hopefully all the panelists, if they're able to make it at the time, because all the stuff is pre-recorded, but all the panelists, the moderators, talk with everyone that's there at the conference live in that Discord server. And this has been going on for years, right?
Right. The inaugural conference was in 2020, so that could not have been better timed, given the pandemic that happened literally a month before, like all the shutdowns and everything. For 2020, I was an attendee. I wasn't part of Write Hive yet, but I can say that it was a little chaotic because maneuvering a new platform and figuring out where all the panels are and all the people are. You definitely learned a lot, and meeting different people, connecting with people on social media. It was such a wholesome experience, and I loved it so much that I was just like raving about it on my Twitter. And then the team reached out and said, "Hey, you have such great enthusiasm. We love your promotion styles." And so they brought me on initially for social media marketing. And then I passed the torch to who we have now, Steph Contreras. Shout out to you. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, and now you're doing the audio visual editing again, like another creative thing that you do. Pretty awesome. But yeah, it's kind of amazing. And like, I love too, you talk about kind of the community with it. And you talked also about kind of the community with games. And I think some games can have fantastic community, but I've heard from like even like some game people how like book people are great people, you know, and like, because let's be honest, there's some games out there that we know have toxic communities, right? But book communities in general, right? Yeah, exactly. Shh. But I've always experienced with book people that it's just, you know, they're so chill, so welcoming, and so just always enthusiastic to share their passion with someone else, right?
I feel like book people, the book reader, writer community is so engaging, and I feel like we speak our own language. I literally, on Memorial Day, I went out with a friend. This is our first time hanging out. We called it a book date, and we just walked around Barnes & Noble talking about the different books we have read, what we want to read. We made recommendations to each other. So it's just, again, so wholesome, and I'm so honored to be a part of a group that manifests that experience for others.
That's lovely. Love that. And so, you have written books yourself and some poems. Tell me a bit about like that.
Ooh, we're gonna go all the way back to middle school. So
take us back.
Going back to wanting to be an entertainer, a singer, and a songwriter. I have so many of those spiral notebooks that you would get at school or for, just to have for taking notes. But instead of notes, I was writing poems. I was I was writing lyrics for potential songs one day when I'm a big star like Christina Aguilera. And they just collected over time. Like, I have tons of them. And, when you're a teenager, you're going through all the angst, I had an emo phase that never really went away. And so it was just capturing different chapters of my life. And it followed me into adulthood. And so you mentioned I have two self-published books of poetry. And I was at a coffee shop, and I was working on a first draft of a novel idea that I had. But then I realized I already have so much content written. Why don't I just put it together in a bound entity and then share it with people? Because, so the first book, Saudade, is a book about mental health and the journey of navigating anxiety, depression, and then the third chapter is called Anew, where you learn about yourself and you move forward with better positive thinking. And so a lot of the poetry content is feelings of anxiety, sadness, loneliness, and just something really personal and deep that I would hope connected to someone else. And that's really all I really wanted to do with entertaining or singing, is to connect with someone who I don't know, because we all experience similar things and we're not alone. And so that's what I wanted to accomplish with that first book. Right now with poetry, I want to do another volume of the Saudade series, because I do have an outline, but I'm wondering if there's a different platform for me, because I don't really need to make money off of it. It's a nice have, but I don't like, it's not what I'm setting out to do. Again, so I'm currently posting all of my poetry on Poetizer, and that is Poetizer. And I believe it was either founded or backed by the poet Atticus. I'm blanking on his titles of his poetry books, but that's how I found out about it. And it's basically a social media platform where you have a feed of people posting their poetry, and you can like and share and comment. And so I really like, again, that sense of community amongst a more sub-niche area of the writing community.
That's awesome. I never heard of Poetizer. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
That seems like a fun way to kind of share some stuff, too. And that's super cool that, I had one of those notebooks, too. Not so much with poetry. I remember specifically I was in 5th grade, and I was instead of like reading time, where we all had like independent reading time and we could read whatever, I convinced the teacher to let me work on writing a book, and that's what I was doing. Amazing. But it was, of course, Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm still proud of it, but like, it's better that nobody has seen it because it was like 5th grade work. You know what I mean? Like, it, but it was, yeah, it was kind of fun to work on. Have you? I'm sure if it hasn't, it's coming. But have you had that experience where someone's kind of read some of your poetry or your books and been like connected with you and sent like some kind of fan message and been like, man, this really connected with me?
Yeah, so when I released Saudade, I was still a Twitch affiliate streamer. Sorry, I don't know why I had struggled saying that. And so I did a live reading of different poems from different chapters, and some people in the chat were saying this one really resonated with me. I totally feel this. The place where I work, some of my coworkers found my book and they ordered it, and they would come up to me at my desk and say, oh my god, this, like, I felt like I was reading about me. I feel like I could have written this. And so it's just feeling like, oh, okay, now I know I'm not alone, and now you're not alone. Let's not be alone together. It's just really warm feeling.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. That's so cool. Did you think about how, if you could go in a time machine and go back to middle school, you'd be like, you're going to do it. You're going to connect with that person,
I totally would, and I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm going to be a singer, but I think it's nice to know now that we have so many options of where we can pursue our different passions and what can fulfill us. And I think that's truly a blessing.
I feel you. Life is messy, and that's just the way it is. But I remember, like, I initially went to school to make video games, which was a fun thing to learn. But it turns out, like, making video games is a whole lot of writing code, and it's actually very hard. So I haven't really made a lot of video games, But, like, still, it was a good experience, and I enjoyed it, and I met cool people, and I learned a lot, and I was able to leverage it to more of what I do in my day job now. But, life is messy. You never know the twists and turns that are going to happen, right?
You just never know what's around the river bend, for sure. Actually, and because you're a gamer and you wanted to develop games, have you read the book Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin?
No, I keep seeing that around, but I haven't picked it up yet, so tell me more.
So I am this much to the end.
Yeah. Almost there.
Funny story. So the cover and the title, because we judge books by their covers, I thought it was going to be a post-apocalyptic story, which is not a problem. I would still read it. But then as I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is about friends who are developing video games. This is totally up my alley. Oh my goodness. And so it's a fast page turner, and again, it's about a trio of friends who come together in this little cramped apartment and build a video game, and you see where that journey takes them. So I think you'd definitely appreciate it.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Book rec. I love it. Tomorrow. Yeah, I've seen that one, and it has that like cover with like kind of water splashes on the edges, right? I think.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, where waves, not splash. Anyway. Yeah. All right. I'll have to pick it up. So this is, life is messy. We don't know the turns that are going to happen. We don't know what's around the river bend. Can you talk to me a little bit about, like, different cool opportunities that have opened up for you along the way? Like, I love that you already mentioned how the voiceover work you did way back when became, like, an opportunity for something new more recently. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if there have been any cool opportunities career-wise, and if I'm totally blanking to anyone who's listening and you're thinking, hello, we did this together, we did this with you, my apologies. But I mean, I think if anything, I'm more focused on the enjoyment of connecting with talented people, because it's such a privilege to just network and learn about people and their journeys and their passions and where they are now and to where they're going. I can think of a few examples right at the top of my head. So I mentioned streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Well, not YouTube for me, but I have friends who do it for YouTube, and those are just lifelong friendships that I never would have gotten if it weren't for streaming and the gaming community. I mean, I'm literally visiting my best friend that I met on YouTube, later onto Twitch, and I'm visiting him next month. No, it's not June yet, July. In July, I will be visiting, and I value his friendship so much, and we've just, like, he's just been such a rock in my life, and I couldn't do anything differently for that. And for voiceover, I went to I just study abroad, I put in quotes, I went to University of Texas in Austin, and they have this UTLA program where you go to Los Angeles for a semester, and then you have classes that are the curriculum is based around the entertainment industry, whether it's movies, music, TV, etc. And the professors are actually people who work in the industry. And so for one of my classes, I don't remember which one, but he and I connected, and he knew a voice actress who I'm going to name drop. Her name is Stephanie Sheh. Stephanie Sheh is well known for her voiceover work as Sailor Moon. Like, she's Usagi / Serena in the Viz Media dub adaptation. And then I knew her first as Yui from Sword Art Online. She's a little AI sprite for the main character. And so he connected me with her, and she and I got coffee. I asked her about the voiceover industry, what it entails, and everything. And she gave me great advice. She said, it is hard to be a voice actor in this industry. Hard in the fact that it's very competitive, because with live action, when you go to auditions, they can see you, they can feel your presence, and you can sell them more with your delivery. With voiceover, they just have your voice, so you have to really be on point to get the roles that you want. And so she gave me a taste of it, sure. And she invited me to a small studio where you mentioned earlier that there were some tiny anime roles where let me see if I remember. I know the hardest one that I had to do was a train exploded, and I had to scream at the top of my lungs. And she kept saying, I can tell you're holding back. Like, just let it go. Just go for it. And so I actually hurt my voice that day because I had to do so many takes. But I voiced a young woman, I voiced an older woman, I voiced a 12-year-old boy, and they're like really small lines that I don't even know if I got a credit for, which I'm not mad about. The experience was a lot of fun, but just so that connection was really, really fruitful, and I had a great time.
Super cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even a big anime fan, but I know Sailor Moon. That's freaking good. And she kind of took you with her and did that. That's so amazing. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I doubt she remembers me, but I remember her and how she took time to coach me and really give me an honest conversation. So I really appreciate her for that. And then the last one that I can think of, this is just more of a networking story and how it's funny. You just never know who you're going to meet. So I went to San Japan, which is an anime convention in San Antonio, Texas. And this was in a period of my life where I was in between jobs. And so I did some freelance editing and writing to pay some bills. And I went to a panel about writing and editing. And one of the speakers, their name is Kieran Strange. And I loved what they had to say in their panel. And so I went up to them. I asked, I'm trying to get started in writing and editing. I have this experience. Do you know, or do you have any advice on how I can get more established? And so we shared contacts, we shared social media, and they were gracious enough to promote me and say, hey, I've met this new person. She's really great. She's trying to get her foot in writing and editing. Hit her up for any of your editing needs. And they pointed me to the a forum. I think it was a forum. It's called Dirty Discourse, which sounds really sus, but really it's just a writing community who write romance novels, and so that got me a start, and I had a steady flow of clientele because of that. So I was really grateful for that conversation that we had at a random convention.
That's sick. That's awesome. I love kind of, we talked about book people and game people and like the community. I feel like broader, just, everyone that would feel home at any convention is probably going to be like someone I want to hang out with, and they're going to be good people, like it's so nice, and love the way that people just kind of are helping people, Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I know you live in Texas now. Are you originally from Texas?
Yes, I am.
But okay. And then you found your way over to LA, because that's where you need to be a singer-songwriter, right? So, like, can you talk just a little bit about kind of what I guess at the time in LA was not that wonderful, because you were kind of doing the struggling artist thing and getting sucked into the hustle culture, I guess, huh?
Yes, it was short and long 4 years of living in Los Angeles, and it was a bittersweet move back to Texas. I was disappointed in myself for a long time because I felt like I had failed. Again, that hustle culture mindset where I didn't make it, right? Exactly. Yeah. And
sure.
But looking back, when you read my resume or my creator resume, I did do a lot. Some of that was in LA, some of that is here, but it was a great life experience for sure. I came to the conclusion that LA is a great place to visit, not so much a place to live. Aside from being expensive, I just think, especially the music industry, it's a very hostile environment. That's saying it nicely.
Is it like, obviously, like movies, of course, like LA is the place to be, but I guess LA, it must be kind of like the place to be for music in general too, eh? Like, I really don't know. That's never been like an industry that I've like looked into very much.
Oh, definitely. There are many big labels in that city. Like you said, everyone's a struggling artist. You'll meet not only actors who are working as wait staff, you'll also meet musicians, and everyone there is just trying to make it. Everyone has a dream, and they're going to have to hustle to achieve them.
Yeah. Right. That's so interesting. It's so different from, as like books, especially. Like, you want to write a book, you just need a quiet place and like a pen and paper, and it doesn't really matter what city you're in. You can go query from anywhere or self-publish these days from anywhere, right? Like, I remember talking to a screenwriter also, and it kind of blew my mind the way, like, he had a full-time job on something in development, and, it wasn't a product yet. They were still developing it, but it was paying his bills. And as someone who's working on writing books, I was like, what is that like? That's, we don't get that, you write the book and then you have to go sell it and hopefully make some money at some point. But crazy the way the different industries work. Yeah. Is there one, I guess you talked about kind of Write Hive. I guess that's kind of, because you've done so many things and you're still doing many, many things. But I guess if there's kind of one area that's sort of your focus now, it is on Write Hive, and then I assume your own writing along with it?
I would say more Write Hive. I do want to somehow publish or bind my next set of poems. I've been thinking about it for a couple years now. I just need to sit down and actually execute on it. But I'd say my focus is just doing everything and anything that I find joy in. So that includes still writing. That still includes video games and cosplay. And actually, I do have something to say about that. So Write Hive, I know the conference is going to be passed by the time this airs, but I am going to be hosting our annual cosplay contest, And with my freshly new blonde hair, I have some ideas of who I want to post for the contest. Not to compete,
let's hear it.
But so one of them is a video game character, and it's I don't know if you know this one, but since you're a gamer, I think you might. The game is called Parasite Eve.
I don't know that one.
Oh, no.
I don't know. All right, tell me about it.
Parasite Eve, I think it's a PlayStation 1 Squaresoft game, and the storytelling has stuck with me since its inception in the late 90s. And it's about this, you play as a main character cop, rookie cop. Her name is Aya Brea, and she has blonde hair, and so that's who I'm going to cosplay. So stay tuned for that. And basically, she is on a mission to chase down this perpetrator. Perpetrator is such a loose term, but this being, her name is Eve, and she is constructed of evolved mitochondria. And so Eve's goal in the game is to let mitochondria thrive again in the world and take over and give birth to these super beings with supernatural powers, and Aya's mission is to stop her.
Wow. Well, dang. That's quite the story. But yeah, so you'll be cosplaying as the rookie cop?
Yeah.
Nice. That sounds fun. I always I haven't done like a lot of cosplay, but I always appreciate. This is one of my favorite things in going to a con, is just seeing all the different cosplayers, and I'm like,
definitely,
this is amazing. This is so fun, Yeah,
and I have my own brand of cosplay. Like I mentioned earlier, or you mentioned, closet cosplay. So I like to work with what's in my closet, and a lot of the characters that I choose are based on the color of my hair. So when I had red hair, I did a photo shoot as Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And when my hair is darker, I was Tifa from Final Fantasy VII. And so it's just fun to explore different characters and get creative with the ensembles and things without having to spend all the money to buy the official costumes that just sit in the closet all day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, kudos to the people that either buy those things or make those things. I've seen like so many different little,
especially the ones
social media clips of people making the right, and like people make those Iron Man suits, and I'm always just like blown away at all the different gizmos, and they have like openings and whatever. I'm like, how do you do all that? But yeah,
right,
all sorts of different stuff. So I wanted to ask you too, like the whole series is all about getting to know people. And I wanted to ask about different fun stories. And I guess you have a fun one about the band One Direction. I got to admit, I kind of like One Direction, so I want to hear this.
You most definitely like One Direction.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, this is my favorite story to tell. So, the year is 2012. And this is in a time before One Direction really made a big splash in the US. So I have to credit my best friend that I met in college, and she has this natural ability to discover artists outside the US before they make it big here. Like, she knew Ed Sheeran was going to be big, she knew One Direction was going to be big, and she knew the 1975 was going to be big, although they're all controversial right now. But she still had the ear for the music that was going to sell. And so she kept bullying me for a year about this One Direction group. And I'm like, no one's going to be NSYNC as the best boy pop band or whatever. And she said, no, you have to listen to them. You have to listen to them. And so I kept denying her. And then, again, back 2012, this is the week of South by Southwest, which is one of the biggest music festivals that is hosted in Austin, Texas. And it just happens to be the week of spring break for UT. And she tells me right before that
just
break,
happens. Yeah, totally not
right?
planned. It just happens to be. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So she tells me, hey, Dallas won a contest to be the first city One Direction performs in, and you and I are going. And I'm thinking to myself, I do not want to do this. I don't want to go. I don't listen to their music. It just doesn't seem like a fun time. You can go do that. I totally support you. And then she kept bullying me and begging me. She said, I will do anything. You just have to come with me. You'll fall in love with them. And so I gave in. And you had to go to the mall where they were giving away the wristbands to attend the event and do the meet and greet. And I just happened to be going to visit my family before I had to work South by Southwest. So she took her other best friend. They did a road trip down to Dallas, and they fought teenagers at like 6 a.m. to get these wristbands because they were only first come, first serve. So can you imagine just a mall crawling with teenagers for these wristbands? And by the end of that day, she said, actually, you know what? He's fallen in love with the band, so he'll come with me, so you're off the hook. Perfect. Love it. I'll see you for South by when we work together. And so we do the week of South by because she and I were working for a digital publication at the time, filming interviews and filming acoustic sessions. And then by the end of the week, she tells me, hey, so my other best friend double booked himself and he can't go to the concert. Will you please go with me? And so I felt bad for her, so I went. And then we're on the drive to Dallas again, and she gets a phone call and a bunch of text messages from said best friend, and she's like, that's not good. And so we get there, and he is frantically running around his apartment looking for something. And he says, don't be mad. And she says, you have a reason for me to be mad right now. I can tell. What did you do? He lost the wristband, which is yikes. And right. My best friend, the stubborn person she thinks, okay, we need to find you another wristband. We will work all night to get it to look like mine. I have mine. It's a model. And I'm just thinking, there is no way you can do this. I mean, the concert is literally tomorrow. It's kind of late. And she's like, no, we're doing this. So she drugged me to Target. We're pacing up and down the art supplies for paint, markers, crayons, colored pencil, you name it. And she just buys all this all these tools.
Yeah. Supplies, right?
Supplies, thank you. And then she treats me to Wendy's to get me on board. And she
like any good friend would, right? Okay.
Yes, she should. And I'm watching her trying to match the color. So we had just done South by, right? And so we had a bunch of wristbands.
Yeah.
She was trying to find one that would easily turn color. And so she spent literally almost all night doing this. And I'm just sitting there watching her, and I'm shaking my head, and she's like,
it's never going to work, right?
You hush, you go to sleep, I will take care of it. And so, lo and behold, the next morning, me and her other best friend, we wake up and we're looking at the floor at the two wristbands, and we're thinking, I don't know which one's the fake one. What is happening?
What? Really?
And so we go to the venue, and we wait 6 long hours because we are total fangirls at this point. And as the time gets closer to be let into the venue, we're getting nervous because, we got this far, obviously, but who's to say what's going to happen when they check the wristbands? And so she said to me, I'm going to go first. I'll be let in, and I'm just going to keep walking. If you join me, great. If you have to go, I'm sorry. And I'm like, It's totally fine. I didn't want to be here in the first place, and I have friends in Dallas, so it's not that big a deal. I just won't get my time back, but whatever. And
So you just waited for 6 hours for, but
Right.
still. I mean, at least you got Wendy's.
I did. She treated me to Wendy's. And so we got in, and we were screaming when we like crossed the threshold, and everyone screamed with us, thinking we were cheering for One Direction, but really it was just like, did we just game the system? I think we just did. And then
your friend crafted her way into you getting into One Direction. That is amazing.
Yeah, and it gets better. So they do a quick interview, they perform some songs, and by this point I'm in love. I'm a Directioner, and I haven't come back from it. And so the wristband got you to the concert, and then you could do a meet and greet with them. So we had to wait in another line for a couple of hours. And I look at my wristband, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So the sun faded the paint, and you can totally tell this is a fake wristband. And I'm looking forward at how they're checking, and the security is like really like just feeling it out, and I'm just like, okay, this is where they send me home. And I don't know why I was so nervous, because I was already there and I already seen the concert, but I was just like, this is like the ultimate experience of meeting them face to face at this point. And so again, she said, I'm going first. I'm not looking back for you. I'm just going to keep going. Good luck. And then we managed to get through again, and I got to meet One Direction, and I was just astonished and shocked that this was happening.
Wow.
And I felt so bad. I always forget who did this. So I think Niall was super enthusiastic, and he was like, hello. And then so I was like, oh, hi, how are you? And then Louis has his hand up for a high five, and I'm totally not paying attention, and he's just kind of like, oh, awkward. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And I just high five him. And so that is the story of the counterfeit wristband for the One Direction performance in the U.S.
That is amazing. Are you still friends with the girl that took you?
Oh, yeah. She is one of my best friends, and we talk every day. And anytime one of us talks about the story, we're like, remember that one time we got in to see One Direction with a fake wristband?
I feel like have you used her talents for further gain? Like, I mean, clearly she is a counterfeit wizard. Like, I would be like, there's like, right? I'd be like, we could go so much further.
We always joked about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was a one-time deal, and it was for a very good one time. And
yeah. Plus, I mean, you had the thing. It's just, it's not like you already jumped through the hoops to get the thing. It's not like you're completely faking something that you don't deserve. But that's, I don't know. I mean, I'd be looking for something like another concert that I could do another wristband for. Be like, it worked at one time. How many times can we do this,
Yeah, that would have been
Get you into like
hilarious.
a new Taylor Swift concert, the Eras tour, right? Be like, those tickets were impossible, but I bet. With the right paint from Target.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine the marketing campaign for their paint sets?
It's amazing. That's pretty good. All right, what a story. I love it. And also you could leave Louis hanging. Oh.
Sorry, Louis, if you're listening to this. It was nothing personal.
That's funny. All right. Well, this has been fun. I've got one more bit that I want to wrap up with, and I call it "How Dare They?" I asked you ahead of time for your favorite book, and it was from Jodi Picoult, right? Picoult?
Yes.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name. How do I pronounce her last name?
Yeah.
Picoult. All right. Not pickled. Not like she's a cucumber. No. Anyway. So tell me what you like. Tell me about the book, and tell me what you like about the book first, please.
So the book that I chose is 19 Minutes. And actually, that's another great story about book people having their own language. So it's actually a funny one too. So I was visiting another college best friend in Denver, and we went out to dinner, and I thought our waiter was nice to look at, attractive, and so I did the brave thing, left my number for him, and so he texted me after his shift, and we started getting to know each other, just real casual conversation, and we started talking about books. And so he told me some of his favorites, and 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult was actually one of them. And so I got myself a copy, and the short summary is, it's about, and this is a trigger warning for some, it's about a school shooting that happens, and you follow different characters' perspectives around the incident of how they reacted, what they were doing before, during, and after. And then there's a trial about who is the main suspect. And so it deals with some very deep rooted
heavy issues
and social commentary. And so I think that's why it stuck with me, because it explores so many different things, and with the world the way it is right now, it's definitely relevant, and you can learn different experiences from different eyes.
Yeah. Well, so what a mess. I wish it wasn't relevant, but it is. So that's really interesting, though. That what a fun way to get to know someone by their book recommendations. But of course, I mean, this is called How Dare They? So I've got a 1-star review from that book that I think that you can read for us, please. And if at any point you're reading and you're like, well, I gotta stop because I gotta say, how dare they? Then feel free.
All right, so this is a 1 out of 5 stars review, and the title of the review is Unlikable Characters, Questionable Editing, and Unlikely Circumstances. And this is a review from 2020, so it's not completely old, and it's still relatively recent. So the review reads, a judge's daughter is present during and survives a school shooting. The shooter is known for a number of years by both the judge and her daughter, who was also the shooter's friend of many years earlier. Sorry, it's hard to see.
Yeah, a little bit of punctuation messed up there, but
the judge had banned the friendship when she found out the kids playing with a gun belonging to the father of the future shooter. Still, the friendship continued in secret until the daughter fell in with the popular crowd in high school. Yet, with all of this history, the judge doesn't see a problem with presiding over the shooter's trial. The judge also seems to have conveniently forgotten that she personally knows and was at one time quite friendly with the shooter's mother, aka the judge's nurse/midwife. If this highly unlikely scenario is not reason enough to dislike this book, the very unlikable characters should cinch the deal for you. How I disliked the selfish judge, her bratty daughter, all of her daughter's friends, the shooter, his lawyer, you name it. I threw in the towel at 78%, skipping the not-so-surprising twist near the end, which I learned from another reviewer. If it's not so surprising because you got it spoiled, is it really... Anyway. If anything, that's my how dare they moment. Like, you spoiled it by seeing another reviewer's thing. That's totally on you. As for the editing, and this is a quote from the text, she stared up at the sky that clung so low. End quote. To what was the sky clinging? Did the writer mean to say the sky hung so low? Don't get me started on the highly educated woman in a respected profession trying to pass off burned lasagna as barbecued lasagna. Please. Terrible read.
Nice delivery at the end.
Thank you. So,
I don't know, man. Like, clung low and barbecued lasagna, are there big problems? Like,
I feel like the review... So, let me just preface by saying, and this is advice that I've heard time and time again with writers and all the programming with Write Hive speakers and things. Your book is not going to appeal to everyone, and that is okay.
Right.
And so everybody's entitled to their opinion, and sometimes you may agree, sometimes you may not. So not every negative review should be taken so to heart, because you went and did something, you wrote a story to share with others, and there are people out there who will love your book. So with this particular review, I feel like the person writing is very hung up on minor details. I can see the point of the unlikely scenario of the judge having conflict of interest in the trial, and they shouldn't be a part of the trial itself. But I think they're missing, that the reviewer is missing the overall message and impact of the book itself. Because I think even when they say that the unlikable characters are another reason, well, I mean, people in life are not always likable either. You can have these characters who live in a gray area where you don't know who you're supposed to side with. And I think it gives that reality of, again, seeing the different perspectives of one situation from different eyes. And you don't have to necessarily like the characters. You can identify or you can dislike, but it doesn't make the book less, if that makes sense. So I think they have some weak arguments in this review that I don't think should deter other readers from pursuing.
Yeah, weak arguments. How dare they? No.
Weak arguments. How dare they? There it is.
With you, though. I totally agree with that point, though, and that's why I kind of like doing this, kind of looking at these 1-star reviews from people's favorites. Some great works, because you're right. Not every creative work is going to be for everyone, and I think, at least for me, this is a nice way to kind of remember that right now. But
yes, I love it. I love that.
Well, thank you so much, Siri. This has been a blast talking with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much again. The time went by so fast. I just looked at the clock and I'm like, oh my God, how is it already this a lot of time passed? So really appreciate you reaching out, and I'm excited to see where this project takes you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to see too. But for people that have listened and really like your vibe, where can they find out more about you and figure out what your next creative endeavor is going to be?
So you can find me on my website at www.sirisvay, and that is spelled SIRISVAY.com. That has all of the amazing, air quotes, amazing things that I do. And I also am very active on Instagram as well as TikTok with the handle Siri Svay, so my first and last name. And you can find me on all social media with that handle. So Instagram, I love to post about food, fashion, adventures. It's kind of like a photo diary, if you will. And then I do love making videos on TikTok for fun, not for fame or money. And I get really nerdy on TikTok. I talk about anime and all of that. So if you want to nerd out with me, that's where to go.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thanks again. Thank you for watching. If no one's told you today, you're an absolute legend.